Good morning, everyone. Jim Clark here at the Synchronicity Sanctuary to share another contemplation with you on this Monday morning. So, what we have here is the title, The Source of Creation and I Are One. To go through life without questioning yourself and what life is living without meaningful purpose. So this quotation really goes back to a famous quote by Socrates, know thyself, and his advice, which was very curt and short, but very appropriate because he had examined his life and discovered and consequently experienced life very differently from those who do not examine themselves. So basically this is saying that you are one and that you're connected with all and everything. But do you experience that oneness? Do you experience that connection? Are you inclusive? Do the people that you meet, do the events that happen in your world, do they upset you? Do they confuse you? Are you alienated from people and events and the world around you in general? Are you not comfortable with being in a human body and journeying the journey of the human experience? So this really all leads to that. It leads to your own evolution, your own state of being, and if it is not totally satisfying, then it would be wise to question yourself. Who am I? Which is really going beyond the name and the associations with that name that you have acquired in your lifetime because somebody else gave you your name. And all through your life, you've used that name and people have called you by that name, and so your relationships and your experiences related to that name all come from the external world. They come from the objective aspect of the reality that you are experiencing. But unknowingly and unaware, there's an internal part of our existence that we do not notice by default, because the external world, the objective polarity, as we say here, of your human experience is dominant. And unless something drives you or some experience moves you to become aware that there's something else to life than what you'd ever known before, you just aren't going to go there by default. It just doesn't show up so easily. Although you may experience things that you are not normal and that you might call spiritual, it doesn't tell you what you can do to generate more of that kind of experience. How can you connect? How can you recreate your life in such a way that it's a joyous experience for yourself, that it's an enlightening experience for yourself, and then have that to experience and to share with yourself and with your world. So there's no guidebook, there's no directions, usually there's nobody to tell you when you're growing up in this world that there are techniques and there are ways that you can explore who you are and uncover aspects of your existence that would make a huge difference in how you experience life, a huge improvement. So our understanding that I was taught and that I still relate to is that we're here to learn how to love. Basically, we're here to journey the human journey and to master it. And the mastery that we're speaking of here is to become aware. Become aware and experience ourselves as the same source consciousness that created all and everything. Whatever you want it by any name, whatever the source of creation is all that is. There isn't anything else. So even though that's a very simple statement, it's a very profound one, because it alters the way you experience life, it alters the way you relate to life, it alters the way you experience life in the sense of being sensitive to life and honoring life and enjoying life and enjoying your own self, because your self is not separate and different from all of life. It's unique, but it is not separate. So we have our identity, we have our ego, and we have our focus, which is determined by default to go to the exterior, the world around us, the people around us. And that is basically the stage of our human experience from the beginning of life, and for many people it's the only stage that they know all the way to the end. But then there are those who are introduced to teachings such as the one that I was exposed to, and they have something in them that drives them to question themselves and what life is. And this is a sign that you have had previous experiences, unaware experiences, where you're totally identified with the human or otherwise, the body that you're in and the world you're in, and that you go through life knowing nothing else, but the theme of such lives is always one of wanting more fulfillment. There's something missing from those experiences that you don't know what it is, but it's there, and the experiences that you did have it's kind of like a negative training where you know that wasn't fulfilling, that didn't do it for me. So if you go back and have another life and another life and another life, eventually you evolve yourself to the point where you are fulfilled in that kind of an experience, and you're ready to move on and become more aware of who you are and what life is. You're ready to discover who you really are while you're having a life that seems totally different and separate. And this is basically what you see in the world today, and you see those who live without the questioning, that are totally involved and identified with their name, their position, their education, their upbringing, all of these things, okay? And then they're locked into that. That to them is what is real. But is it really real, or is it the creation of our thinking minds, that we're involved with? We create our reality in this way, and then we project our creation outward, and we become victims of our own creation, which is kind of silly, but it's really the way it's all working. And we're incapable of including all those in our world because we notice the differences. It's important to us then what people believe in, what they think, what their opinions are, even though in truth, whatever someone expresses, whether it's you or someone outside of your own physical self, it's their creation. Your creation is happening and being generated from within yourself. So if you don't know this, if you don't cultivate that truth within yourself, then you're always going to be bouncing around with opinions and prejudices and preferences and so forth. And whoever doesn't agree or fit with what you like and what you want, well, there's a conflict, isn't there? But the conflict isn't with the person outside yourself or the people outside yourself. The conflict is being generated from within yourself. And as you become, if you question life, if you question yourself, if you go journey the journey of self-discovery, you will eventually realize and witness yourself creating all this stress, all these differences, all this conflict. And then when you see it, that awareness in itself generates a different kind of a process wherein you become aware of your conditioning, you become aware of your enculturation as a program that you acquired, and you're trying to live in a program that really isn't you. And so as long as you're trying to do that, it doesn't work. It's not fulfilling for you because it's not you generating an authentic experience of life. It's somebody else's ideas that you're trying to fit into, and that is not the authentic experience of life, which is simply to be who you are, truthfully who you are. And so through meditation and a holistic lifestyle, which generates the balance, which generates and allows you to become aware and to begin to witness all of this process that goes on inside of yourself, and therefore to gradually free yourself from those limitations simply by putting an emphasis on being over becoming, on your existence as source, as opposed to somebody who is one of many. So in this sense, it's kind of like a reprogramming that you're doing on your own, because in that process, as you discover that there's much more to yourself than you could ever dream of, that discovery expands your awareness, and in that expansion, you include the world that you're living in. You include the people that you're living with or interacting with, because your truth is their truth. It's all one truth, right? So everybody is the same consciousness that created everything. And if they knew this, they would relate to the world and each other accordingly. And this is what was meant by the phrase that I was taught many times, that we're here to learn how to love. And what is love other than the source of existence? The very nature of our source of existence is love itself. So that's what is meant by that. It's not something that you really do. It's something that you experience in yourself and share with your world. You accept your world. You do what you can in a positive way to make life something better for those in your world. Not that you preach, not that you criticize, not that you try to teach people who don't want to be taught. It's not like that. It's more like you're a living example of the outcome of such self-inquiry. And people who are ready to pick up on that will, and then they'll be open maybe to hearing what your experience is, and they'll be curious about why do they sense something about you that they don't sense in themselves or most other people in their world. And through this kind of a process and the sharing, which has nothing to do with thinking and what's in your mind, other people become interested, and then they get kind of turned on to at least exploring the possibility that there may be more to them than meets the eye. And it is this kind of a route that consciousness takes to constantly evolve itself in the human journey. Because that's really what we're here for. This is really what's going on. And the suffering and the pain and that goes on in that process that we witness as an isolated human being is part of that process that we too have journeyed in our lives in order to get to where we are, to start seriously questioning ourselves, to start exploring who we are and what life is. And that is where we kind of cross a bridge, as an analogy, where we no longer can accept belief so much. We look at our experience, people can't give us the right answers to explain why life is the way it is. And so we kind of turn inward. And once we do, we have new experiences. We have enlightening experiences. A moment here and a moment there, but these are very profound experiences, and they leave a lasting mark. In my particular experience, I know I had many questions in my life, and the one thing that always came back to me was that I simply did not know. I didn't know what life was all about. I didn't know if this religion or that religion was true. I didn't know if there was really a God, and all these kind of questions. Whereas the people, but I was aware that there was a lot of people going through life convinced and not questioning any of these things, but because I realized that I did not know the answers to these things, I was kind of like open to whatever might be that could give me some understanding of what my life was all about and who I was beyond the enculturation and identity in my name and so forth. And because of that, here and there, I had validating experiences that told me in the beginning, it simply told me, yes, there is more to life than what you know. And yes, there's a lot more to this world than what you can understand. And that further opened me up to the possibilities that I might be able to find out and discover at some point in life, and therefore to turn my life around in terms of going from simple survival and, let's say, suffering life to enjoying life. And at some point, I reached a crossroads where I had an awakening experience, which was huge. It was very profound, and to this day, my memory of that moment is vivid and in detail because it was so strong and so moving. But it gave me a taste of the truth of who I am and the taste of what life is. And that, once you have that, you never turn back because it's so good, so profound, and so real that it opens you up to, oh yes, this is what it's all about. And from there, you simply seek out ways to capture that experience. You want that experience and more of it. Now, the specific experience, whatever it might be, will never repeat itself. But the truth that it exposes you to that's within yourself, that is still to be explored and to be taken on, to be integrated into your human experience so that you experience life that way all the time instead of survival. You're joyous and you're celebrating life, and you have a very positive, loving attitude towards life in any form. So this is kind of like the source of creation and I are one coming into your reality as the reality. It doesn't do away with the ego. It doesn't judge the ego. It uses the ego so that you can have that experience while you're still living a human life. And that is the mastery of life and what that mastery is all about, however you get there. So that's what I wanted to share with you in this brief little live stream on this fine Monday morning. And I'll be back again next Monday morning to share another contemplation with you. And I hope that this gives you something positive and meaningful in your life to share with yourself and with those in your world. Thank you.